December is officially behind us, and with that, we can take a look back at the best titles released this past month. Unfortunately, December as a whole was a little underwhelming with such a slim lineup of games, but hey, we still got 6 solid titles to go through. Before we jump into the list, I have a few honorable mentions that don't quite meet my threshold of new releases, but deserve a quick nod. First, we have Potion Craft Alchemist Simulator, a 2D potion crafting sim that dropped its 1.0 release and is supposedly very good. If you like crafting sims, especially the idea of crafting potions, make sure to check this one out. And then second, we have Dwarf Fortress, a colony simulation and fortress management game, which just released a new Steam edition. Dwarf Fortress has a solid cult following, as it's been around for 20 years now. And for all of you old and potentially new players, the Steam edition has added some quality of life updates to keep Dwarf Fortress fresh and current with the times. And our final honorable mention is Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, a remaster of the 2007 Final Fantasy Series PSP exclusive, available across all platforms. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the top 6 games you should have bought last month. First on our list at number 6 is Choo Charles, a first-person horror survival shooter game developed and published by 2-Star Games. In this glorious title, Thomas the Train crosses paths with your worst nightmare imaginable, where you play as a survivor on an old train engine trying to fend off the bloodthirsty train prowling the tracks known as Charles. This is easily the strangest premise of a game to come out of 2022, but needless to say, it surprisingly executes on everything. Players must manage each mission they embark on carefully, as they'll help settlers they meet along the way in return for high-powered weapons and items that are key to Charles' demise. Additionally, players collect scraps which are used to upgrade their personal train engine. These scraps can be acquired by completing missions, or if players so dare choose, by halting their train and roaming the hillside on foot. As Charles doesn't abide by standard train physics, his 8 spider-like legs allow him to scurry wherever his train engine so pleases. Choo Charles does look really up, so I'm probably not going to play it ever, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't give it a go. Just as an FYI, it's not very long, only a few hours of content, but if you are a fan of the horror survival genre, the length shouldn't deter you here. Experience your very own Nightmare on Train Street, available for $20 on Steam. Perhaps one of the most adorable looking games to make a list of mine is the Lil Gator Game at number 5, a single player, cozy, and cute third-person adventure game developed by Mega Wobble and published by Platonic Friends. In Lil Gator Game, you play as Lil Gator, who is desperate to get his big sister to come play with him, as she is occupied with her schoolwork, accompanied by Avery the Frog, Martin the Horse, and Jill the Dog. Lil Gator sets out to recreate an old game he used to play with his sister and hopes to remind her of the good old times they used to have. Using their little gator feet and a glider, players venture into an open world environment set on an island where different areas contain a number of quests to embark on and flavorful NPCs to meet. Scattered across the island are cartons which, once destroyed, provide the ability to craft new weapons, hats, and other items to aid players in their journey. Before I go any further, you're probably thinking, this is a kid's game, why is this here? But I promise this is more than that. It's an adult game in a gift box that just happened to be wrapped by a child. This game is about a kid in the neighborhood growing up and is a story every adult will understand and relate to in some capacity. So get your kid on with Lil Gator Game, available for $20 on PC and on the Nintendo Switch. At number 4 is Burnhouse Lane, a single-player action-adventure horror side-scroller developed and published by Harvester Games. In Burnhouse Lane, players take on the role of agency nurse Angie Weather, who, in an attempt to start a new life for herself, must endure several hardships before she can turn the page to a new chapter. Players will find themselves solving a series of different puzzles by traversing sections of the game and chatting to different NPCs. While not a primary focus of the game, players do rely on combat mechanics from time to time. The game does utilize branching logic in its dialogue with NPCs that ultimately affects future outcomes, including game endings. Players are unable to backtrack their decisions and will only find a single save slot, so a heightened sense of pressure around decision making is afoot. While Burnhouse Lane is one of the quieter titles you'll see on my list this month, it is a truly solid all-around horror side-scroller. You can find Burnhouse Lane for $15 on Steam. At number 3 is Chained Echoes, a 16-bit turn-based JRPG developed by Matthias Linda and published by Deck 13. In Chained Echoes, you play as a group of heroes wandering the continent of Atlantis in an attempt to bring about an end to a multi-generational war between 3 kingdoms. Throughout their journey, players will traverse unique locations such as exotic archipelagos and sunken cities. Players will also encounter a wide array of NPCs and enemies tossed about across the continent. And unlike many of its 16-bit JRPG counterparts, Chained Echoes does not feature random events. It actually just has all the enemies visibly running around the map instead. Now, when players are in combat, a turn-based combat system is front and center as expected, but party members in combat have the ability to raise an overdrive meter, which enhances character offensive abilities. To balance this mechanic, the overdrive meter can also overheat, and in doing so forces players to use defense and special abilities known as ultra moves, allowing the meter to discharge. The game's crafting mechanic is very well done and appears to be really keeping players hooked throughout the middle and later stages of the game. With about 40 hours of content to be had, you can't go wrong with Chained Echoes, which is available for $25 on PlayStation 4, all Xboxes, Game Pass, and PC. At number 2 is Blacktail, an action-adventure first-person shooter developed by The Parasite and published by Focus Entertainment. In Blacktail, you play as a young Slavic 16-year-old Yaga, a girl outcast from her village on accusations of witchcraft. Yaga quickly recognizes everything is not as it seems as she ventures to uncover the mysteries of her living past. Throughout the world of Blacktail, players will make impactful decisions affecting the game's morality system, hunt spirits, take on bosses, gather resources throughout the land, discover new treasures, and upgrade character abilities that ultimately shape their playstyle. It is worth noting the combat almost exclusively revolves around the use of a bow and archery mechanics. Blacktail features no melee combat, but does provide the ability to dash, which is heavily used to create and close distance to fight enemies and to hunt animals. The thing that excites me most to play Blacktail is the morality system. I'm a huge fan of the original Infamous game, and I've always felt it's a system that is underutilized by developers. The decisions you make in Blacktail affect your morality and determine future outcomes and interactions with NPCs you discover across the land. Lastly, the morality system does impact the ending of the game, so players should choose wisely as they play through. Pull out your bow and take on the Legend of Baba Yaga in Blacktail, available for $30 on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and on PC. And at number 1, we have High on Life, a single-player comedic-based FPS adventure game developed by Squanch Games, aka Justin Roiland's the co-creator of both Rick and Morty and Solar Opposites. In High on Life, you play as a computer nerd turned intergalactic bounty hunter following the invasion of Earth by an alien space cartel known as the G3. Humans are enslaved and sold throughout space to any alien species who prefers humans as their drug of choice. Throughout the game, players take on the G3 by teaming up with Gene Zaruthian, a retired bounty hunter, as well as a species known as Gatlians, which are essentially talking guns in flesh. Each weapon does feature its own unique primary and special ability. The difference here from your typical FPS is that the guns each have their own interactive personalities that take over during scenes of dialogue and in mid-battle. If the dialogue becomes too overwhelming, players do have the choice to lower a setting so that the vocalization does only occur during the required cutscenes. Lastly, the game features a handful of different worlds to explore, which are all rounded off by a fairly diverse set of bosses players set out to defeat. Now, I did get a chance to play through this one and had an absolute blast. I felt the comedic timing of punchlines were spot on, and the attention to detail given to the environment and the NPCs you interact with in between main missions was extremely clever. It is worth noting, if Rick and Morty or Solar Opposite style of humor doesn't mesh well with you as an individual, there is potential cause for concern here. The bread and butter of this game is combining basic yet clean gunplay with unique voice acting and that Justin Roiland style of comedic writing. If you do like Justin Roiland and you do like Rick and Morty, this game is going to be right up your alley. You'll have no issues playing right through High on Life. Available on all Xboxes, Game Pass, and PC. And just like that, 2022 is officially behind us, which also concludes the results from this year's Game Awards. This year I got a chance to actually attend the show in person for the first time, and if you've never done that, I totally recommend it, at least doing it once, since it's such a different experience from the online stream. But on the note of the Game Awards, were there any titles you felt were snubbed for a nomination? For me, I was a little surprised neither Roller Drum nor V Rising found their way onto any award lists, but I don't know if I'm off with that take. Comment below, let me know, and until next time, peace out, y'all.
Oh, well, okay. Well, now I can.